Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech, protected.
The following is independently produced programming. The views and opinions expressed are those of the producers and do not reflect the views and opinions of Falls Area Community Television, our staff, or board of directors.
Secrets in the shadows, lost and found. Truth in every echo, loud and clear. Keep on with the long road, no more fear. In the halls of power, whispers grow. Every secret trapped beneath the undertone. Honor stories hidden in the dust. On this long road, in the truth we trust.
Hello, welcome to The Long Road. I'm your host, Kris Roberts. And today we're going to talk about a really touchy subject, housing in Keene. And when we're talking about housing, should we use the word housing? Should we use the word apartments or transition housing? Disabled housing, senior housing, subsidized housing. Okay, there's all kinds of types of housing in Keene. But when you look at it, there's none of the necessary housing in Keene. And people keep saying is we gotta build more affordable housing in Keene. Are we building affordable housing? What is affordable housing? The city approved 9 new houses up next to Market Basket. They start at $499 a month. $499,000. I don't view that as affordable housing. There's housing built up at Wickham Road. I don't think that's affordable housing. And so you go to what is affordable housing? But really in Keene, when it comes down to building houses, really, we should call it the maximum profit housing. And we talk about being in the free market. Everyone has the right to make as much money as possible. Well, but where does that leave us? Where does that leave the ability to have a place to live? If you don't have a place to live, how do you get to work? Okay. There's about 13,000 people that work in Keene every day. Over 8,000 of those people drive into Keene. And the vast majority of them are driving into Keene, sometimes spending a half hour each way, sometimes longer. So kind of wasting, maybe 5 to 10 hours a week just driving back and forth to work, when they would love to be able to live in Keene and do short commutes to work. Or wait a minute, I'm here in Keene, but my kids are going to school in this community, so I don't get to see my kids play sports or extracurricular activities, but it's the only house I can afford. Or maybe I would like my children to go to school in Keene because it's better than some of the other places. But it's only what I can afford. So the Keene, it's about almost 170 page report looking into the housing situation in Keene. You can go to city's website and get it. But you know what, we paid for it, and it tells you what is needed, but what really is going to be done about it. I don't think much at all is going to be done about it. Yes, Keene Housing will look at ways to build new places. You know, you got the old Roosevelt School. You got Southwest Community Service will be helping out. Habitat for Humanity, for example, they're going to build 2 small units at Grove and Water Street. You got the 100 Night Shelter because a number of people were able to put money in and buy tax credits, which is going to help them. Okay. Well, if you go to the report, okay, the city of Keene over the next 10 years, for houses, apartments, they would just call rental units, but basically apartments, for 30% or less. You know, a lot of people in Keene make $28,350 a year or less, household income. That means their max rent would be $710 a month of their take-home pay. And right now, Keene is short 173 units for people that work. Okay, when you look at $28,350, that's about $15 an hour. You know, that's Walmart wages. So you can work in Walmart, and the chances of you get $15-16 an hour, the chances of you getting more than 32 hours a week, pretty slim. So for the people basically, quote, who work in the equivalent of full-time at Walmart, they're about 173 units short. School classroom assistants in the Keene School District work less than 32 hours, and they get paid about that when they would fall into that category. People paying, you've got 28,000 to 47,000. That means they could afford rent from $710 to almost to $1180 a month. There are 170 houses short. For people 47 to 75,000, those people that would pay $1,181 to $1,889 a month, there's 123 short. And all of a sudden, you know, $1,900 a month is really getting up there. The people who make $75,000 to $95,000 a month, a year, that means their income, they'll be able to pay rent basically from $1,890 to $22,362. For people making $94,000 to $113,000, That's basically $2,400 to $2,800 a month. So that's 24 units short. My daughter was looking around for 3-bedroom places in Keene, and the lower end was asking for $2,600 a month. And some of them did not even include utilities. Just think, look at this. Household income of more than $113,000 a year. Basically about $28 an hour, 2 people, $28 an hour. That means they're going to pay $2,835 or more every month. Just think of it, every month. That's pretty close to $35,000 a year in rent. That's just rent. So over the next 10 years, the report that the city was given, they need about 600 rental units from the low end to the high end. Let's go to housing, owners. Well, 30% or less, home price of $96,000. Okay, well, they're going to be 49. There's no way. Well, maybe the closest that you can get that is Habitat for Humanity, when they build some of the houses with volunteers. For people who make $28,000 to $48,000, they're going to need a house between $97,000 and $163,000. You might be able to get some beat up house for that, but the city of Keene is short 185,000. 185 houses. Houses falling into the 162 to 259,000 range, short 149. And as I'm going through these, you got to remember, these are before the Keene's reevaluation numbers. In Keene's reevaluation number, Keene's valuation right now is about 30% below what it should be. If you're making $75,000 to $94,000 a year, that's a house between $258,000 and $323,000. So basically, you need $95,000 a year to afford a $323,000 house. And that's not a new house. If you're talking about if you want a house that falls into the $323,000 to $389,000, you need between $95,000 and $114,000 a year in income. And if the median house in Keene is $348,000 before reevaluation, it's not going to happen. And for a house of $390,000 or more, you need $113,000 or more. So when we talk about the 9 houses that the city of Keene approved up on the way to Market Basket, and they start at $495, Okay. So to even think about getting one of those houses up there, you have to have a household income of at least $160,000. To get the house up that they're building, you have to make more, at least double the median income of a household in Keene. Double. Okay. In 495, it's probably in the top 20% of houses in Keene. So double the median household income in Keene, and something that's probably in the top 20% of household cost, and a house cost in Keene is not affordable housing. So right now, the city of Keene was told, you're short 1,399 rental apartments, rental units, and new housing. Also looking at it, they're also saying in the next 10 years, the population of Keene will have peaked and start going down. And so there's a combination there. If you can't afford to rent the place, you can't afford to bring up a family, and the jobs in Keene do not pay enough for you to afford a house. We've got this circle going around and around. How do you solve this problem? Well, this problem just didn't come out of nowhere. This problem was caused by greed. Plain and simple greed. And you say, who was greedy? Oh, got an itchy ear. Well, I'm not going to tell you who was greedy, because all you have to do is go out, ask questions, read articles in the newspaper, and you'll know who was greedy. Okay, so I have a little statement right here. Most of us are aware of the lack of supply in the current housing market. But just 15 years ago, we were faced with the opposite problem. We had plenty of housing. People were living in Keene. Families were living in Keene. Elderly people were living in Keene. Retirees, they paid off the house. Okay, but what happened? History can provide a helpful perspective. So let's go back to the 2000s and look how we ended up with such an oversupply prior to the Great Recession of 08-09. And where has all that oversupply gone? In 2000, the housing market was hot, fueled by cheap and easy credit. Mortgage rates were down to 5% from nearly 19% 2 years ago. 2 decades ago. Yep, in the 1980s, people forget that the mortgage rates were in the 19%. New car loans were like 24%. So, the Federal Reserve, the banks, people, speculators got quite greedy. Our elected officials They were getting plenty of money, endorsement money and everything, campaign donations from greedy people. Mortgage rates, like I said, went down about 5% from nearly 19%. Finance regulations were loosened up and expanded access to credit, increased numbers of would-be buyers. Homeowners refinanced to tap their houses for equity. Many turned into speculated real estate investors. Subprime borrowing total from 2003 to 2007, $3.1 trillion in subprime mortgages. That 3.1 in subprime mortgages is great. In those 4 years, it's greater than the 15 plus years since it all collapsed. All this housing activity put upward pressure on prices, creating a positive feedback loop for immense profit incentive for all involved. A bubble formed and it crashed. Okay, 2003, 2007. What was going on in 2003 and 2007? Oh, Keene State was increasing their number of people every year until Keene State get up to about 5,500 students. That was more than they could even house themselves. So we had speculators in Keene who came in and go, hey, they offered a bunch of people, you know, you retired from Markham's, you retired from Kingsbury, you had bought that house maybe in the 50s, in the 60s, you may have paid 14, 15,000. I'm a speculator, hey, your house is all paid off. You know what? I'll give you $150,000 cash for that house. You will? So a lot of people took that. It happened right after COVID. Oh, I'll give you $300,000 cash for that house. Well, the people took the cash, but they said, well, I got 150, we'll go this. I paid 15 for my house and I got 165,000 for my house. So I made $150,000 profit. But because of the speculation, guess what? You could not buy a new house because that house that you sold for 165 is now an income generator. Hey, someone has got to put the student someplace. So we'll keep buying up these houses like from these old people. They know. They don't know the difference. They think, wow, they got all this money. Well, then a lot of the old people will force to leave. Oh, hey, you own an apartment house? Yeah, I know. The old thing, yep. I got 4 apartments. I live in one and I got 3 more. So you know what? I'll come in and you know what? It's worth $200,000. I'll give you $300,000 cash. Then I buy the house. The guys got the husband and wife got their money. They're gone. And then I go, you know what? I know your rent's like $700, but you know what? I'm jacking it up to $2,000 a month. People moved out. And as the prices went up, people had to move out. families had to move out, less kids came into it. But if you go to, when I was looking at it, go to Keene State College, oh yeah, we do wonders for the community. We put in $7 million of economic value to the community. What economic value? Well, yes. You know what we do for the pizza joints? You know what we do for the bar rooms? Look at the things that we put into economic value. Well, but what is it doing for the people of Keene? Well, now just think. Hey, it's a funny thing how economic value can do. I can say, well, Keene State creates economic value because Keene State College students pay $3 million a year in rent. Okay? But on the other side, that means all the people that lived in there no longer live there, may not be in Keene. They may have to live outside of Keene and drive into Keene, putting wear and tear on Keene infrastructure, and the other taxpayers have to make up for that. And you go, and then I was looking at the numbers, and then Keene was building some new dorms. They were building the alumni building. They were building the dining facility. They were adding all these things up because Keene was, hey, interest rates are really low. I can get bonds at a really low rate to finance these. Well, everything was really kind of going good until, wait a minute, we can't pay our bills. Keene could not pay its bills. And there's just a report on NPR, which was republished from the Keene Sentinel. And right now, when it looked at over 100 professors and other teachers and everything have been laid off since their financial crash. And Keene is now another $3.5 million deficit this year. They've gone from over 5,500 to 2,800. And so let's look back. Let's say just go back to 2003 and go from 2003 to 2023 and go, wonder how many housing units have been built. Well, I can say, oh, Acadia Place. I can see the Mills. Oh, those count as rental units. Okay? So we can say that we added all these rental units. Well, but here's the other problem. If Keene is counting on $600 a head, or basically say, let's go 8. So Keene is counting on $4,800 a year per student to pay off its bonds, to pay the people to keep the place clean, to pay for utilities, all that kind of stuff. And then the mill goes, hey, come across the street and live in our place. So if the mill takes 200 people away from Keene State, and Keene State was rounding it off to 5,000 per person. That's $100,000 that Keene no longer has to, no, that's $1 million Keene doesn't have to pay for its bonds and things. That's also money that people are not eating in the dining facility, which helps to pay. So Keene is now into this problem. And then Keene needs to get more people in, so they lowered the standards and less people want to come. And then more the out-of-state places. Hey, Massachusetts says, you know what, go to community college for 2 years and we'll pay you, you can go free. Or Connecticut's doing this, offering this. So now Keene is in trouble. Keene is only 14% of high school graduates were going to Keene State. Less than 500 a year went into Keene State. So now, quote unquote, the economic value that Keene State was providing is even less. And yes, there are some small families starting to move in because a lot of the outer town people that went and bought these apartment buildings and homes and everything, they sold and got out, took their money and ran. Some are still stuck. And let's give you an example. So here it is right here. Let's go Acadia. Off-campus living is made easy with all-exclusive rent, fully furnished apartments, and amenity designed for students. Located just down the street from Keene State College, we offer individual lease agreements within spacious 3 or 4 room bedroom plan, four plans. Okay? Now, wait a minute. Let's look at this. How well is your English? Off-campus living is made easy with all-inclusive rent, fully furnished apartments, and amenities designed for students. Located just down the street from Keene State College, we offer individual lease agreements within spacious 3 or 4 bedroom floor plans. Within. Okay, so that means right now, if I wanted to go down to Acadia, the base rent is $775. But there is a number of hidden fees. So, to count the fees, it's $954. But that is in a 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom apartment. Okay? So you got a little common area and there are 4 small bedrooms, enough for a single bed and a bureau and a desk. That's it. Bingo. Really small. And so, if you want to live in that place, those small rooms by yourself, it's $2,939 a month. That's it, $2,939. Two of you can live there, you can split. But it also says individual lease within. What happens? Who has control over who leases in that place? Do you do, the other lessees, or you have to accept whatever the manager states? And yep. So the 4-bedroom, 2 baths is 1,140 feet. Just think of that. 1,140 square feet. You can go to a good hotel with 2 queen-size bed and other amenities and have about 400 square feet. So this 1,140 square feet is with the counting the 2 baths and the open area. So you could be very easily looking at only about maybe 200 square feet in a room. A 20 by 10 for basically $900, $950 a month. And, okay, 94 Davis Street, 1,400 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, 2,214. 8 Wilcox Terrace, 4 bedrooms, 1 bath, 864 square feet. 4 bedrooms, 1 bath, 864. So you get about 150 feet square feet per each. That's less than you get for Marine Private for $2,031. Another one, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1,200 square feet, 2,100. 4 bedrooms, 1.5 bath, 2,096. 121 Davis Street, 5 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 2,356. Another one, let's see. Yep. Oh, here's one, the easy one. 4 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 768 square feet, 1,970. This is why Keene does not have affordable housing. And this is the one that is the catch. Keene State needs the people to pay its bills, but people out in town are doing $2,000 for 800 square feet, jamming 4 people in. Hey, when for most people who live in Keene, work in Keene, anything over 900 is really pushing it. It's so you have easy money. You have the college not only sucks up this easy money and builds the pond, it builds the other dorms, it builds the new dining facility, it creates all this debt, it needs people in to pay off the bonds, and then there's so many people here they're jam-packed, so people are living out in town. The investors take advantage of it, kick out or buy out a lot of the people that were living in Keene, the citizens, the grandparents, the people that would then come buy starter homes in Keene. And then as they grow up, their kids grow up, they go buy a bigger home. So the cycle continues. Well, that all got in place. And then, bingo, because houses and everything couldn't go, and Keene wanted to have a nice downtown that impressed the people that came into the college to send their college kids here, the cost goes up. The college is not paying taxes. A lot of downtown are nonprofits not paying taxes. So the property tax goes up, and companies can't afford to stay in Keene. FedEx is not going to pay the high property taxes or the rent because of it. Smith, you can name a whole bunch of places. They could not afford to be competitive because of the price of Keene housing. Housing, property taxes in here. Well, now we go, this was good. The city of Keene worked and helped create the Keene Housing Authority. And the Keene Housing Authority does really good. The Keene Housing Authority, what does the Keene Housing Authority do? Last year, 1,633 individuals lived in 951 households that were operated under Keene Housing. 214 individuals lived in shelters and transitory housing. 54% of the households are single people. A lot of them are working full-time but can't afford to live anyplace. 39% of all the people that live in Keene housing are disabled. 366 households have kids in them. 180 households have single families. There's 525 youth living in Keene housing. 114 under age 5, 5 to 12, 248, and 13 to 18 for 163. Where would these people live without Keene housing? Keene has 666 elderly and disabled households that Keene housing serves. 44% of them are over 62. A lot of people, if they're only living on Social Security, they can't afford to live in Keene. There's no housing available living in Keene. You know, if you're making, say, $1,400 a month on Social Security and you're paying $200 a month for Medicare, you get $1,200 a month. In a lot of places, you can't afford a place for $1,200 a month. 56% of the people in Keene housing, of that 660, are under 62 and disabled. So a lot of them are getting Social Security disability insurance. Again, not much. You may be getting $900, $1,000. Where do you live in Keene? 7 in 10, 70% live alone. They can't afford to live alone out in town. 70% of the adults that live in Keene housing are women. Only 30% of them are men. The median income for people the households that live in Keene housing is $20,169. Think of it. $20,169. That's a median income. You know, $2,000 a month could very easily be an average house, nothing fancy, paying the mortgage, paying their insurance, paying their property taxes. Someone like this could not even afford it, even if they're given the house. 72% of the people in Keene housing are Social Security or SSDI alone. 951 households and over 70% live on Social Security and disability alone. Where do they live? This is a little bit older. In 2022, they had 20,396 shelter nights for homeless. 46 of the sheltered are female, 54% are male. Yes, about 100 of the people are 25 to 34, but you got 50 people 45 to 54, about 30 people 55 to 61, 62 and over, about 25. So 55 and older, there's about 60 people in 2022 that were 55 and older that were homeless. There was 10 domestic violence, plus 99 were chronically homeless. Yes, Keene housing is doing a lot to keep people off the street, to keep people healthy, to keep people from freezing to death. Stone Arch Village Center up the end of Court Street. 1-bedroom apartment, 8 years waiting list. You have to wait basically until someone dies so you can move in. And a lot of people who are applying for that die before the number comes up. A household with children may have to wait up to 2 years for a 2-bedroom apartment. 20% of the people, households on voucher wait lists are elderly or disabled. A studio apartment, 2.5 years. 1 bedroom, 5 years. 2-bedroom, 2.2 to 3 years. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 years. Disabled housing studio, 2.5. 1 bedroom, 2.5. 2-bedroom, 4 years. In Keene, this is of 2023, there was 2,994 households currently on the wait list. 2,000. So you're basically in 2023, you're talking about 3,000 households that could not afford to live in Keene. Many of these families, households could afford to live in Keene before the rapid expansion of the college, before the rapid building of low bond rates, before the lowering of the standard of the college, before we had bars and pizza joints and everything saying, yes, we want more kids, we want more kids. Yes, the city council and other ones and saying, yes, this is good for us. Well, nothing happens in a vacuum. So when something is benefiting at that time, then other people are suffering. Me, I get in trouble because I always like to tell people I like Star Trek. I like Mr. Spock and his three-dimensional chess games. I move this piece. Too many people in politics and business, they're worried about their own self, and they say, I'm going to make this move. They don't worry about the next 2, 3, 4 moves down. Well, we're in this situation because over those 20 years, no one was looking at the second move. They were looking for instant gratification. Well, instant gratification. Now, who's paying for it? The elderly people are paying for it on a wait list to get into elderly housing. Okay, like I said, Roosevelt. Keene Housing is working to upgrade Roosevelt into housing. Some people already moved in. Okay, all of that, 30 units, 22 one-bedroom, 8 two-bedroom apartments with project-based vouchers capping resident rent at 30% of their income. So you got 2,994 households on the wait list in 2023. In July 2024, the median household was income was $20,000. So that would mean if I was one of these guys living on Social Security or Social Security disability, and I'm making $1,200 a month. So that means, yes, I would pay about $350 to $400 a month, and which leave me, if I'm 12, I pay $400. That leaves me $800 a month to cover everything else. They'll have 5 supported service units for formerly unhoused families and individuals. The first newly constructed, deeply affordable housing in Keene since 2013. Again, Keene's been talking about affordable housing. This is the first really affordable housing in Keene in the last 13 years. Quote, we said affordable housing, but, oops, sorry, you can't afford to live in it. Can you think of it? Look at all the talk our elected officials have said about affordable housing. at the state level, at the county level, at the local level, affordable housing, affordable housing. But when you ask them, what have we done besides talk? Nothing. And so Cheshire Builders, Evernorth, Invest New Hampshire Housing, New Hampshire Community Development, Northern Borders Regional Commission, TD Bank, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and Warren Street Architecture. That's what they've done. So 22 single people, one bedroom, maybe double in there, and 2 and 8 two-family housing are opening up. The ones on Marlborough Street are for profit. They'll have a few affordable housing in there, but they're for profit. You look at the houses built in Swansea and everything, they're for profit. And another place that helps is Southwest Community Service. They got Keene Heights. They got Marlborough Home Senior Housing in Marlborough. They got Charlestown Senior Housing in Charlestown, New Hampshire. Senior Housing in Ringe. Senior Housing in Newport. Warwick Meadow Senior Housing in Winchester. Railroad Square Senior Housing in Keene. Woodcrest Drive Housing in Winchester. And Swansea Township Housing in Swansea. And West Mill Senior Housing in Keene. With Southwest Community Service, when they talk about affordable housing, they're higher up on the risk, higher up on the wealth and income. And most of them must be 62, and a number of them are not rent assisted. And so there are places, people can be in the 60s and 70s and 80,000, depending on the median household income in the area they're from. So if you need housing and you definitely can't afford it, you need to get in contact with Keene Housing. And if you're a senior, you need to get in contact with Southwest Community Service. You might not stay in Keene, but you can get a safe place to live. It's up to you.